Hi, morning guys. My name is Mina. This is episode 88 of the Knitting Expat Podcast. Thank you for joining me today. Today is Wednesday the 14th of December and I'm coming to you from New York. This is where my husband and I and our cats have recently relocated to. We're currently in a temporary accommodation situation until we move into our apartment in the new year. But yeah, so that's quick little recap for those of you who are new to the podcast, and if you are returning, thank you so much for coming back. And if you are new, I hope you enjoy what you see. Today may not be the best podcast to start with. You might want to go back and check one of the older ones. I'm not feeling quite myself. I've been feeling a bit under the weather this week. Not entirely sure what. I'm not really sick. I just think I'm also 30 weeks pregnant, so I think I'm kind of at that point in this pregnancy where I'm just feeling really tired a lot. More about that later. But yeah, so you can find me online in a variety of places. There's a group for the podcast on Ravelry. There's a blog for show notes and stuff, and all of that's linked below the video on YouTube. And so you can find all those links there. And we also have, here you go. Knock my bottle of water over. I have the camera balanced precariously on a box, and Hugo is just come to investigate the box. So if there's any shaking, I apologise. Right, so we have a coupons code thread in the Ravelry groups. Make sure you go and check that out for some really great discounts. And yeah, with that I'm going to move on to finished objects. So it's probably not going to be a particularly long podcast this week. I do have quite a few things to share with you, but like I said, I haven't been feeling too great and I'm still not feeling quite myself. I sort of contemplated whether or not I would even do a podcast this week, but like I said, I have a fair few things to talk to you. Hugo, Hugo, this is not funny. I have a few things I wanted to talk to you guys about, and I didn't really want to put it off for another week. So here we go. First up, finished object wise, is a pair of socks. These were some socks I was working on last week. I just put my laptop there. So these are the was it Summer Night colorway by Arnie and Carlos. I think it was their first collection they did with Regia, and I'll show you up close, and you can see probably better on this one. You can see I did a little mini heel flap there, so it just gives you a slightly deeper heel and less stretching or less pulling over that instep area. So that's just my plain vanilla sock pattern with Gemma shorter heel and a little mini heel flap, and yeah, I love how these turned out. They're not matching. They're about half a repeat off from each other, so I actually think they work pretty well like that. And yeah, I'm really chuffed with how these have turned out. Then next up, another pair of socks. This is another pair by Regia. This is the Regia Perfect, and if you don't know, the Regia Perfect is the yarn is designed such that you can knit one sock and then you pull until you get to the yellow thread, and then you can start your second sock, so they start at the same place. I decided to sort of do the cast on in the yellow just to add a little pop or something, but yeah, they turned out pretty much the same. They're about one row out from each other, one row different, but not enough to really notice anything. And I also did the the mini heel flap on this one that you can't really see in this yarn too clearly, but it is there. And this is going to be a gift for some friends of ours over here. The friends of ours whose wedding we went to a couple of weekends ago, or whose wedding reception we went to a couple of weekends ago. So this will be for the guy. Then I also did a pair of socks for his wife, I guess. And that's the next finished object I have to show you. I did knit these socks really quickly, these two pairs, kind of flew off the needles pretty quickly. But this pair is out of a sock blank by Knitting in France. And it's a sparkle sock blank. I'm not sure how well the sparkle is picking up on the camera, but it's a very sparkly sock. And as you can see, it's sort of like this striping effect. So in order not to disrupt that too much, I popped in a German short row heel out of a Hue Loco mini I had left over and that I had with me, which I think works quite nicely. I have the leftover blank to show you what that looked like, in case you are not familiar with sock blanks. So this is just part of it. So that's what the sock blank looked like, and that's what the sock turned out like. So you can see you kind of get the same sort of striping effect, but the stripes are much more sort of blended into each other. And yeah, and the way I knit from sock blanks is you just literally pull from it and you knit as you go. But what I do is I fold it in half and I essentially cut the yarn. Just cut one stitch. You don't have to cut the whole thing. Just cut one stitch and then unravel it, split the blank in half, and then that way I can knit my socks 2 at a time. The other option is to obviously wind off half of the blank and then knit from it that way. Knit one sock from a blank and one sock from like a ball that you've wound off. So that's that. And this, with this pair of socks, this pair number 87 for the year is this one. So 3 more pairs of socks and I'll have knit 90 pairs of socks this year, which, that was Hugo jumping. Which 90 pairs of socks is a bit crazy for 1 year, but I'm quite happy with that. We will see. I don't think I'm ever going to get to that many in a single year again, mostly because I think the biggest reason why I even got to 90 is because of the sockathon that I did in January with Marsha of the Very Little Podcast. If you hadn't heard about that, then you can check like an old podcast episode from earlier in the year about that. But it was a challenge where Marsha and I wanted to see who could knit the most pair of socks in a month. We both ended up knitting 35 pairs of socks in the month of January, which was insanity. But definitely one of the reasons why I'm at the point of having knit almost 90 pairs this year. But anyway, it was good fun. Not something I think I'll ever be doing again anytime soon. But my last finished object that I wanted to show you is a little baby knit. It's a little teeny tiny vest. This is the Milo vest by Georgie Hallam. And I just realised, I forgot to tell you, all those 3 pairs of socks that I showed you, they were all knit on 2.25 millimeters or US size ones. So this is the Milo vest by Georgie Hallam. The pattern was gifted to me by a lovely viewer, and yeah, I knit the smaller size, but I made a slight mistake in the placement of the cable. As you can see, it's actually 1 stitch off from being perfectly centered, which is a bit annoying, but the cable is actually supposed to be offset, so it's going to be off to the side. I misread the instructions when I got to that point, and by the time I realised, I was already halfway down the cable and I wasn't about to throw it back. And it's for a baby, it's not that obvious, it'll be fine. And the yarn I used for this was the Otira yarn. It was a mix of merino, tencel and possum, which is an interesting blend to work with. It's perfectly soft, and it's a single ply, a DK weight, and I used 3.5mm and 4mm needles, which is the US 416. Anyone who is interested. So those are my finished objects. As for works in progress, I only have 1 thing on the needles at the moment. Like I said, I really wasn't feeling that great, especially yesterday. I did no knitting at all yesterday, did not pick up a single thing to work on. Again, I'll talk more about that later, but I've just not been feeling particularly great. So on that note, the only work in progress I have at the moment is a baby knit, baby jumper, baby sweater design. There's another version of that design that I've been working on. I finally cast on the second version of it, and I'm about halfway through the body. I need to finish the body, do the sleeves, and go back and do the neckband. And yeah, and then once I get this one done, I think I'm going to get the pattern written up, tech edited, words are failing, and then hopefully get it out to test knitters in the new year. I'm not really going to look to try and get anything out to test knitters this year, just because frankly everyone's so busy with Christmas. And the yarn I'm using is a single ply from I Knit or Die in London, and this is on the Shangri-La base. It's a 100 gram 366 meters superwash merino, and it's not a particular colorway. It was a custom dyed job for me that I'd asked for a specific color yellow, and but yeah, so that's that. Yeah, like I said, I haven't cast on anything else since, but I have a couple of socks that I'm planning on casting on soon. So the first pair will be out of this lovely yarn by O Loops. It's the Superwash Sport Base in the Happy Pills colorway, and it's actually a self-striping, and it's 328 yards in 100 grams. So this will probably be a pair of gift socks for somebody. And then another pair of socks that I have planned to cast on is the Deck the Halls colorway by Vullenvine Yarns on her Fitzy base. Ooh, on a Fitzy base. And this one I'm probably going to keep and use for my Christmas Eve cast on. And that pretty much covers it for what I've been working on and works in progress and stuff like that. Next up, I have some acquisitions to talk to you guys about. The bag of goodies. It's funny, I was talking to, again, I'll talk about this a bit more later, but on Friday last week, I met up with Eric from Six of Swine, Kristen from Young Gazin Podcast, Jacqueline from Brooklyn Knit Folk, and Julie from the Sweet Sparrow Knits podcast, and Alison as well, who's another friend, for dinner. And I was talking to them about it and saying that it's really weird. Like, I suddenly have this urge that I want to buy yarn, but and then I realised I was looking through. I have like a yarn spreadsheet and stuff, and I was looking through and I realised I haven't actually bought yarn since mid-August. So it's been 4 months since I bought yarn. So yes, some yarny purchases were made this weekend. I felt I was justified after 4 months of not having purchased anything. But before I get to the purchases, I was gifted a couple of lovely things from some of these friends I just mentioned. So Eric, who was in town over the weekend from Canada, he brought me my copy of Rib magazine. He was going to mail it, but because we were moving and didn't know where we were going to be, he just decided to bring me my copy, which is so exciting. And it's really special to actually finally see one of my patterns in print. Let me just find the picture. So those are the patterns that I've got in the magazine. It's the hat and cowl, which is really exciting, and the photos are amazing. Devon did an amazing job with the photography, and just the whole layout of the magazine, everything just looks really lovely. So congratulations to Eric and Devon for the successful publication of their first magazine. Sorry, words are failing me today. I'm kind of, I don't know why, but this was super exciting to get hold of. And then Eric also brought me some tea. This is the Sleigh Ride by David's Tea. It smells really good. And a couple of other little bits, a little notebook and an ornament as well with it. But I don't actually have a tea strainer or anything to strain loose leaf tea with at the moment in this place. So until our furniture arrives, or until I find an alternative solution, I haven't been able to try it yet, but it smells amazing. And then I was also completely surprised and blown away by Kristen, who gifted me a skein of her yarn, which is so beautiful. And it was very funny because Kristen had an update that night when we all went out for dinner, And I remember thinking to myself, dang it, I'm not going to be able to like get online. I'm finally in the right time zone to hit one of her updates, and I'm not going to be able to be on my computer or whatever to try and get it. And then she went ahead and surprised me with the exact skein yarn that I probably would have bought anyway. And this is her Not a Creature Was Stirring colourway, so it's one of her Christmas colours for this year. And it's on her Volca base, which is her MTN. Absolutely beautiful. I love this colourway from when she first showed it. And this was actually the one I would have tried to get on her update, so it's like she read my mind. So thank you so much, Kristen, for that. That was very special. I'm not sure what I'm going to make with it yet, but I may have to just marinate in the stash for a little bit. And then yeah, so on Saturday I went to, before that, one other thing I did order online was a full set of wooden DPNs. And so these range from a US size 1 up to a US 15. There's a couple of sizes in between that I'm missing, like it doesn't have a US 1.5 or a 2.5, so it doesn't have 2.5mm or a 3mm in there, but otherwise it's got all the other sizes. And the reason why I got this, and I don't really knit with DPNs, so you're probably wondering why I bought a full set of DPNs, but I really like using DPNs for crown decreases. I find they're really useful as stitch holders, and I don't mind working with DPNs in certain situations. And also as cable needles, they work really well as cable needles. And this was really, really inexpensive on Amazon. I think it was like $10 or so for the full set. So, and there have been times when I'm working on a hat, and the DPNs I have at the moment only go up to 4mm. So if I'm working on a hat with larger needles than 4mm, when I get to the crown decreases, I actually really enjoy doing my crown decreases on DPNs. Then I don't have DPNs and I have to do it magic loop, which is fine, I just don't enjoy it as much. So I just wanted to have that full set. Figured why not. So at the weekend, like I said, I met up with Eric and we went up to Knitting City. And at Knitting City I picked up this skein. I was very specific about what I was looking for, and I'd asked Perry if he wanted me to knit him another pair of socks, especially because now that we're here, he's wearing his hand knit socks a lot, well, every day now, and so they're constantly being washed and on rotation. Now Derek's come to investigate the box. Please don't knock it over. Hey. They're behind the camera this time rather than in front of the camera this week. But I asked him what sort of colour he would like to have, and he said either red or purple. So I got to Knitting City and I picked out a few different skeins of yarn, sending him pictures and stuff, and eventually he picked this one. So this is a skein by Nooch Fibre, and it's this beautiful rich red. It's their Midtown sock, 75/25 Seaposh Merino nylon, and it's in the Honor colourway. So this is really nice rich red, and he actually said he really liked the Pebbles sock that I knit him, the green ones that I did. And so I think what I'm going to do is I will do him a pair of cobblestone socks this time. He just liked the simple texture of it. He doesn't want anything complicated, and because it's a nice base. Derek, can you stop? Okay, I don't know what he's doing. Okay, sorry. Because it's a nice sort of pretty solid colour, I think it will look quite nice with a bit of texture on it. It also makes it more interesting for me. And this will likely be pair 90. So the other two skeins of yarn that I showed you that I've really wound up for socks, plus this one will be 3 pairs, the 3 pairs that I need to get to 90 for this year. And then finally, we also headed down to Pearl Soho, where I wanted to pick up a couple of skeins of the new Brooklyn Tweed Arbor base. And it was funny because we got there and I was looking at it, and then I was talking to Eric. I was like, I can't remember what I wanted to get this for, but I had a project, I had a specific thing in mind for it, but I just couldn't remember for the life of me what I wanted it for. And then I was like, okay, it's fine, I won't get it now because, you know, I can go back and get it later. And then, like 2 minutes later, I remembered why. It was for a design project that I wanted to work on. So I picked it up in this Vintner colorway. It's beautiful, again, rich red. I was definitely on a bit of a red kick that day. I really wound up one ball, one skein into a ball. This was one of the projects I'd hoped to have had cast on by now, but I haven't just got round to it yet. It's a really lovely squishy base. It's 100% American Targhee wool. I don't think I've ever knit with Targhee wool, so that should be interesting. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that. One of the reasons I went for this red colour was because the other two designs in the pattern I've used varying shades of red. So I figured it'd be nice for the whole set to be in shades of red. And that pretty much covers acquisitions. Oh, next up, I have Knit Along and giveaway news. So I still haven't heard from the winner, from the last winner, from the wee little Knit Along prize winner person. Sorry. So I've redrawn a winner for this skein of yarn because it's been over a month, and I figure that's long enough, or almost a month. So the winner for this skein of yarn by the Wool Kitchen is Amy's Knotted Knits, and that was Amy, and she was post number 208 in the finished objects thread. So Amy, if you can get in touch with me for with your address, and then I can get this out to you hopefully soon. So yeah, please get in touch. I do have a question to answer this week, and actually it's kind of relevant because it was a topic I was going to bring up anyway. The question is from T.S. Lorenzo on Ravelry, and she asks, with the shawl that you're going to be releasing, could you give some idea of quantity of yarn needed, etc.? So she's talking about the mystery knit along shawl that I was talking about last week. And yes, sorry, I do realise I forgot to mention any sort of details about yardage and stuff like that in last week's podcast. I had talked about it in quite a bit of detail on one of the moving vlogs that I did, so I guess I just kind of thought I'd already talked about it. But so you'll need 3 colours of worsted or Aran weight yarn. You will need a minimum of 200 to 220 yards of each colour. I had very small amount of yarn left over. My skeins were, I used Peace Fleece, which is an Aran weight yarn. It's 4 ounces per skein approximately, which is over 100 grams. It's about 115 grams roughly in 4 ounces. And those skeins have 200 yards in 4 ounces. So, but it's also a non-superwash yarn, so it doesn't stretch, it doesn't grow at all with washing. So yeah, I would say minimum 200 yards to 210, 220 would be better for each colour, just to accommodate any changes in gauge. Needle sizes would be 5mm or 5.5mm, depending if you're going for a worsted or Aran weight. Again, all of these details will be in the project page, with the pattern page. Once I release it, I will be setting up the pattern page on Ravelry hopefully by the end of this week, if not early next week. And you'll be able to purchase the pattern, and with the initial purchase you will just get basically the information sheet, which gives you a breakdown of all the different things you'll need to get ready for the pattern, and also yarn suggestions of different brands of yarns that you could look at for that, that provide enough yardage per skein. So that will be available before the knit along starts, and then the first clue will come out on the 1st of January, and then there'll be a new clue every week after that, and there'll be 4 clues in total. I think that way, if I know there are a couple of knit alongs happening in January for shawls and stuff, which end at the end of January, so with the ways the clues will be coming out, you should be able to finish the shawl by the end of the month if you wanted to. As in, like, all the clues will be out with enough time to finish for the end of the month. I think the last clue will end up coming out about a week before the end of January, so it works out quite well in that respect. I think that's all I needed to cover on that one. Like I said, the pattern page and then the information sheet when you purchase the pattern should cover all details of everything that you will need in order to be able to take part and knit along with us. So hopefully you're as excited about it as I am. It's the first time I'm hosting a mystery knit along, so this will be an interesting experience for me. And yeah, I'm really excited that so many of you are also excited about taking part. Derek, he keeps walking back behind the camera. Okay, I'm going to take a quick little break here, and then I'll be back with a week in review. If you are only here for knitting, then that's basically the end of the knitting stuff. Next up is just going to be a bunch of chatter at the end, and it probably won't be that long, just because, like I said, I've been saying all along I've not been feeling that great. But I'm just going to go have some water, and I'll be back in a sec. So here we go, the week in review. First up, I just wanted to say I've done a couple of short vlogs which kind of cover most of the more interesting parts of what's happened last week or so. So if you want to check those out, you can. They're on the channel already. Should be the 2 videos before this one. But otherwise I'll kind of run through a brief recap now as well. I was talking to my mum, and honestly since getting to New York especially, I've noticed that Little Nugget is definitely been getting bigger. My bump hasn't really grown as much, but I feel like she's definitely gotten bigger. She's decided my bladder is her new favourite toy. And it's worse, like I feel I'm constantly running to the toilet. It's that horrible feeling when you've just gone to the toilet, and as you're leaving the toilet you need to go to the toilet again. It's not fun feeling like you constantly need to go, even though you know you don't need to go. And it's worse when I walk. Ironically, walking intensifies that feeling, and being in New York, that's a lot of what you do is walking. And so yeah, it's definitely been an adjustment and a bit difficult, trying to figure out when I actually need to go versus when it's just her pushing on the bladder. I was talking to my mum about this, and she was saying that she was really lucky with both of her pregnancies, that she never had that problem. Apparently me and my brother were angel babies when she was pregnant in comparison. But anyway, and towards the end of last week I had quite a stressful time trying to find a doctor to register with. It was, well, first of all, navigating the US healthcare system is a massive hassle. It's the nicest way I can put it. It's a big hassle and a lot of confusion as well, trying to figure out how that all works, but figured that out in the end, and finally getting on the phone to try and get an appointment with a doctor. And at this point, quite frankly, I was like, I don't care who it is, I just want a doctor. And then I genuinely feel that people who answer the phones at these sorts of situations really ought to get better sensitivity training on how to deal with pregnant hormonal women on the phone, because hearing things like, oh, that doctor is fully booked until June, or we don't take patients after 28 weeks. I was 29 weeks at the time when I was calling. I was like, yeah, things like that don't help my blood pressure. They're not going to really help my anxiety. They're not really going to help me feel any less stressed than I do right now. And obviously got to a point where I was literally, you know, I'd gone through 4 or 5 different doctor's offices, and I was just like literally in tears, really like stressed out about it all, and just being like, I don't know what to do at this rate. I'm basically really over exaggerating the problem in my head, but it felt like a big problem at the time, not being able to find a doctor. And I was just like, poor Perry, trying to keep me calm, because he's just like, you know, the more stressed you get, it's not going to be good for the baby or for you. So poor him, trying to keep me calm. Eventually got it figured out, got an appointment with the doctor, and she seems to be quite a good one, in that she gets good reviews. Well, from what I've been able to find online about her, is that she gets pretty good reviews from past patients and stuff. So I am pretty hopeful that it will go well. We have our first appointment with her on Friday, so yeah, fingers crossed that all goes okay. I already mentioned I went for dinner with some knitting friends on Friday. Again, that's in the vlog, in the first of the 2 vlogs that I've put up this week. And that was lots of fun, and genuinely something I really needed after a stressful few days. Then on Saturday, like I mentioned, I met up with Eric and we went to Knitty City, and then we went down to Pearl Soho, where Perry joined us for a little bit. And then on Sunday, I was on a mission to find myself a coat that zipped or buttoned up the front, and I finally found one, thankfully. And ironically, it wasn't in the maternity section. I checked a few thrift stores first, didn't find anything. I checked a few other stores, and I found some things in the maternity section, but they were so expensive for what they were, and they weren't quite what I was looking for anyway. And it just wasn't. And they were quite heavy coats. I wanted something that wasn't going to be too heavy either. And in the end, I found a coat at Old Navy in the non-maternity section, ironically, and it was like on massive discount as well. So it was actually cheaper than any coat I would have found at the thrift store. Yeah, and it just worked out quite well. I ended up buying it 2 sizes larger than I normally would have to accommodate the bump, and there's still room in the bump grows as well, which is good. So it looks a little bit awkward on top around the shoulders, like it's quite obviously too big for me on top, but frankly it's warm, it keeps me warm, it's not too heavy, and it actually looks quite nice, which is good as well. But I totally overdid it with all the walking on Sunday, and so Monday I spent all day at home just resting, and then yeah, and on Monday actually I completely forgot almost that I had a really good FaceTime chat with Kelsey from Primrose Yarn Company. We've been chatting pretty regularly now online for the last little while, and finally we both had a bit of spare time, so we thought we'd get on FaceTime and have a chat and knit together. I knit the majority of the feet on these socks. I was just past the heel. I got to about here, just in the time that we were chatting on FaceTime. So that was nice. And yeah, it was just nice to chat with her. We ended up talking for like 3.5 hours, and it didn't really feel like that long. But yes, that was really lovely. And but then yesterday I don't know what happened. I woke up in the morning when Perry woke up to go to school, and I just really wasn't feeling well. I really wasn't feeling well. My belly was aching. I don't think it was Braxton Hicks contractions or anything, because it didn't feel like what those are supposed to be. I mean, I'd read up about it and I was like, that doesn't quite sound like what I'm feeling. But at the same time, I didn't feel that it was urgent enough to go see a doctor, if that makes sense. Like, I just felt like it was something that would pass. It didn't feel like, I wasn't worried, because I could still feel her kicking around quite a lot. Actually, she was very active yesterday, so it was just really quite achy, and I think maybe she's going through a growth spurt or something. But some of the achiness in my belly was making me feel quite nauseous, and because I felt nauseous, I didn't really eat anything, and I just felt like I wanted to lay down all the time. Just felt really tired. I literally slept all day. I slept all day, only waking up to either roll over or go to the toilet, and I slept straight through essentially until 9 p.m. Literally slept the whole day. And even when I woke up at 9, I was still in bed the whole time, sort of rolling around, and I didn't pick up any knitting. I didn't open my laptop. I only got out of bed to go to the toilet. That was literally it. It was not a nice day. It wasn't fun. I had so many plans yesterday. I was going to podcast yesterday. I was going to do all this stuff yesterday, and I just had zero energy to do it all. I definitely feel better this morning. Still not feeling 100%. Kind of feel like after I've done this, I'm probably going to get back into bed, or at least lie down on the sofa. I don't know what it is. I popped out to Starbucks this morning just to get a drink, and just doing that and coming back upstairs, I felt so drained. And I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just the stage I'm at with this pregnancy, or maybe I'm starting to come down with a cold or something. I don't know. But I've just been feeling really like zero energy at all, which isn't great. But like I said, I didn't feel like it was bad enough to go see a doctor. And I still don't. I just feel like it's just one of those things that will pass eventually. But as for things that are coming up, we have a couple of Christmas parties that we're going to over the next week, which should be fun. But other than that, I'm not really sure what our plans are. Perry's got his last day of classes is tomorrow, and So yeah, I'm hoping that by the weekend we'll have some time to actually go out and start looking at things for the baby. I mean, there are quite a few things that we want to get before she arrives. Nothing too extravagant or anything. We literally have nothing other than some baby clothes. So there's a lot of things that we still need to get. And most of it we're probably going to order online anyway and just have it delivered to the apartment just because it'll be easier. But there are a few things that we want to check out in person and see which ones, which options we prefer and stuff like that, and actually see the items in person before we order them, because sometimes things don't always look or work in the way that you thought they would from what you see online. But yeah, and I'd also like to check out some Christmas markets. We still haven't had a chance to go to any. Like I said, he's been quite busy, and I haven't really wanted to go on my own. So hoping to get to do some of that next week as well. But yeah, I think that pretty much covers it for me for this week. I don't really think there's anything else left that I needed to share. Like I said, I'm sorry if this week I haven't quite been myself. I just don't feel. I probably should have not even done the podcast this week, to be honest, but I didn't want to leave it another week without talking to you guys. I really do look forward to podcasting each week, and I don't like missing them. So yeah, thank you so much for joining me today. If you have, I hope you have a lovely week of knitting and holiday festivities and all of that ahead of you if you celebrate. And yeah, I think that's it for now. Thank you so much for joining me, and until next time, take care. Bye.